Okay, so in this video, I wanted to cover some song basics. This will, help you to configure and optimize and get the most out of Silmaril. You know, it, you have to have a sound understanding of the game mechanics, limitations of the game, and things that you have to do that I cannot help you with. Specifically, mostly your gear swap, and I'll cover a little bit of that here in a bit. But the idea here is to get a good foundation so that you can not only configure it right, but also maybe identify some issues yourself. So if you're very versed in songs and Final Fantasy mechanics, feel free to skip this video. Hopefully, if you don't, I'll impart some knowledge or useful tips that you might not have known. But let's start off with the concept of dummy songs. Some people might have heard of what a dummy song is, or they might have referred to it as a placeholder. Okay, and the idea is that as a bard, you can only have one song active until you add an instrument. Any instrument will allow a bard to sing two songs. Okay, but there are a few items out there. The Dabla, the Terpander are the most common for harps to grant you additional songs, either one on the Terpander or two in the final stages of the Dradabla, and then a prime, which also grants two. Now, when you talk about placeholders and dummy songs, prime is excluded. So if you have a prime, no, you don't ever need to sing a dummy song. You can kind of ignore this. But the point of a dummy song is that when you look at the harps that grant that additional song effect, there's no potency on it. And what you really want to do is sing it with your Galahorn, if you don't have a prime again, because it does that +4 songs. So not only do you get the additional potency of that spell, that buff, but every +1 song adds 10% duration. So a +4 gives you actually 40% duration from your base song timer. So you're getting a lot out of that +4. That's why when you sing those two additional songs, you're leaving crumbs on the table. You did all the work, but you're not getting the full benefit of those two additional songs. You sang them in a weak potency, horn, or I should say harp. That's what the dummy songs are supposed to do. So, as an example, I'm just going to sing a march song. Okay. And let's just do a minuet. Okay. So no need for dummy songs. I can sing those full potency because I'm allowed to do that because I'm using an instrument. But if I want to get that additional song, as an example, I'm going to just sing, if I wanted a ballad. Let me sing a ballad here. It's not letting me do that because if you watch my equip viewer down here, it's not swapping to my Dardabla. So if you configure Silmaril incorrectly, it's just going to sit here trying to get that third song on. It's going to go and cycle between Honor March, Minuet, and it'd be like, Mirror, why is this doing this? Why is Silmaril doing this? It's not Silmaril, right? It's your gear swap. You are not physically putting on your third song. And that's where this dummy song concept comes into play. So in my particular gear swap, I use Payon 4 and lower, Mine 2 and lower, and a bunch of the other songs. Now, I recommend if you're singing dummy songs, try to sing unique dummy songs. Personally, when I manually did it, I just did, 4, 3, 2, 1 or whatever. to do my dummy songs. If I'm just singing a non 1 hour, and if I did a 1 hour, I'd throw in a mine, right? So the limitation of the game, though, is I don't know whether I have a pay on 2 or a 5 on. It just doesn't know. So, like, if I just do a 2, it only reports. Okay, well, it'll report my HP. And if you watched at that point in time, it did swap the additional heart. So, in this case, I'll just put the extra song on. So, there's the heart. So, now I got one. But it just says pay on. Right? You don't know which one is, let's see, what did I sing? A 2 or a 3. So that's important. Maybe not so much as a player. Sometimes it's kind of annoying because you don't know what that mage didn't get when they ran off or whatever. But Silmaril, that's very important, right? Because it's trying to put these songs up, and it's like, I don't know. It will fix itself. It just might have to sing, a pay on 1, 2, 3 before it figures out, oh yeah, you dropped the 4th, pay on. So that's why doing unique songs are ideal. I get it. Some people can't figure out their gear swap and they just have to use pay on 1 through 4. So I allow you to do that, but I'm just telling you, you're making it tough. And if you're able to, try to do unique dummy songs. Okay, so that's kind of all I want to mention on that. So now I got 4 songs on, and I can sing my bass songs at full potency. And since they're going to be unique songs, they're going to overwrite those pay-ons. And let's just do a victory. So there I will have my 4 full potency songs because I put those 2 dummy songs on. So I think that about covers it from an additional song perspective. If you see similar cycling songs over and over and over again, watch what it's doing and make sure your gear swapping the right songs. And when you're laying your bass songs, manually do it yourself. Okay, sing your songs, and then don't just assume because you pianissimoed a ballad onto your warrior that you did it right, because you probably dropped your victory march if you didn't sing it last, which I'll go into next about orders. And then you're like, why does Silmaril keep spamming pianissimos? Well, you told it to replace a minuet, and it can't replace that minuet because of the durations. So don't just assume you sang your songs right. You actually got to go over there and check that player's buffs to see that you haven't incorrectly, replaced it. So like you actually got to go up here when you're first figuring it out to verify that you actually got the right songs. So order, like I was talking about, my recommendation is to always sing Soul Voice Scherzo first, because that's going to be your 20-minute song, typically. Soul Voice will double the durations, not the potencies for Scherzo. That's why you sing that one first under Soul Voice. Then you're going to always sing Honor March, because that, like I mentioned earlier, has 50% duration. Okay. Then, if I'm going to ballad 2 or more, I will typically, if I'm going to pianissimo ballad to 2 or more characters, I will then sing ballad next. The reason being is ballad is typically your shortest song. It doesn't have to be. Again, this is where variables come into play. It's up to your gear swap. In my case, my ballad is always my shortest because I don't sing it with Empyrean legs. So, what'll happen is typically when you sing, this has a song duration. It's kind of hard to see because freaking timers, but you can see song effect duration plus 17. But then if you come up here, let's see here, where is it? I don't think I can see. There it is. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So ballad plus 1. It's under there, under these durations. So I don't sing in this. I'm sorry. I don't sing in the Inyangas for the 17% duration. I sing in the Empyrean for the plus 1 because I get that extra tick of MP. But because it's a plus 1, as I mentioned, that's only 10% duration versus 17% duration. It's going to be 7% lower in duration than any other song. That's how I like it. I like the extra potency. I'll take the dock, and I play that to my advantage, the fact that a ballad is shorter duration, because now when I pianissimo the other 3 DPS, or 2, just depends how many backline I have, I know they're getting that ballad kicked off, without a doubt, because it's going to be the shortest song that I sing. And that's why I sing that one after an honor march if I'm going to pianissimo ballads. And that's also about the only way you're going to get your ballad on your bard, because that's a limitation of Silmaril, is you cannot pianissimo the bard. I'm just not going to do it. It's not happening. So some people have a backline bard healer. So if you have a Geo and you have a white mage and you have a bard that's healing, I mean, that's already 3 of your 6 players that you want to have ballad on anyway. It just makes sense to put ballad and then pianissimo your minuets onto your DPS. Okay. Let's see here. So I talked about orders a little bit. Like I said, it's very important. Also, March is typically your second shortest duration, and that has to do with the plus 1 gear. I don't think you get a March from the body, the Empyrean. I can't remember. Maybe you do. I don't remember. Well, point is typically your march is going to be victory march is going to be one of your shorter songs, and you'll want to sing that at the very last. Okay, so it's not getting overwrote. Those are the big ones, right? Is knowing the orders and getting your gear swap. That's what trips up most people. Okay. So I would say try not to go more than 3 of any buff type, because it gets hard to track what buffs you actively have on. Okay. So the big takeaway from this is knowing what a dummy song is, how to get those additional songs on, manually sing your songs in what you think the order should be, and replay what Silmaril's doing, right? Because then you're taking Silmaril out of the equation and you're verifying your actual gear swap. Because honestly, probably 7 out of 10 times it's someone's gear swap. Another 2 is probably not understanding it, and sure, there might have been something wrong with Silmaril, but it's been pretty well fleshed out if you know the mechanics and how it works. If you do find something or you do have a scenario, feel free to post it up in the Discord, and people can help you without the with the actual configs. like I said, this is kind of just the baseline. I'm going to have another video that talks more about how to actually configure Silmaril, but I figured this is a pretty long segment. You know, some people are not that familiar with songs and understand how the Bard overwrites some, doesn't overwrite some. Uh, Oftentimes, go and manually check the buffs, right, so that you actually can see what really took, what taken. Because as a single boxer or just playing a Bard, you might have never actually known what happened to that mage, because that mage said I wanted ballad, and so you ended up always overwriting that mage's ballad. And it might not have been a big deal because they toss on haste. And sometimes that's acceptable. If you're, 2 or 3% under haste on a mage, it's not the end of the world, right? But you might not even know you have done that for years because of how song durations and your gear affect how they drop and replace songs. So you have the ability as a multi-boxer to check all that stuff, take your time, manually sing, verify your gear swaps, and that'll lead you very well for when you actually go to configure Silmaril. All right, thank you.